What's going on, all you wild Jedis and Wookiees? It's Logan Myers here for Cinephellas.com, and for the first time ever, I'm going to be doing a video game review. So I was a little nervous about this. I'm not a huge gamer, but I do enjoy playing video games as much as I can. It's more of a stress relief for me. I'm not like one of the gamers that play all the time, but lately with the lockdown coronavirus, I've been getting down with a lot of video games, and I started Jedi Fallen Order, the new Star Wars game. What I can really say about this game, it's so super addicting, an absolute blast, and a really great story in the Star Wars universe, and I really had a great time with it. And I just completed it last night, and I want to share my thoughts with you guys. So I played a lot of the Star Wars games over the years, and Nintendo 64, PlayStation, all the different, PlayStation 1 through 4, and Xbox and all that stuff, but I haven't had a good time with any of the Star Wars games, really lately, up until the newest one that they just released. I played the two Battlefronts, and I really got bored with them. But I haven't had this much fun with a Star Wars game since Star Wars Episode 1 Racer that I used to play with the joystick on the PC in the late 90s. And I haven't really had a lot of fun up until this game came out. I just love this game from start to finish. I was super addicted to it. I played it over the past 3 or 4 weeks, and I knocked it out. I completed the story, and it took me about 60, 70 hours to beat it. I know a lot of normal people, gamers, it took like 20, 30, but yeah, it took me a while. I got stuck in a few parts, but I'll get into that. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order takes place 5 years after Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. If you guys remember Emperor Palpatine's purge of the Jedi, Order 66 basically sought out all the Jedis as traitors and basically executed them. So the setup of the game, we're introduced to Cal Kestis, that's voiced by Cameron Monaghan. If you guys are fans of Shameless, he was in that show. He plays Ian. You seen Ian? He's been in a bunch of other stuff. He was also in Gotham, but up-and-coming star, really good actor, and I love his character in this, playing Cal Kestis. He escaped the Order 66, so he's like kind of hiding out. He eventually meets up with this character, Sarah Junda, and that's voiced by Deborah Wilson. She was in Mad TV, but this is like a super serious, dark video game, so there's no comedy with her character, but she's definitely one of the best characters and has the best arcs probably in this video game. But her and Cal eventually meet up. They get on the ship called the Mantis, and we're introduced to the rest of the cast of the game. We're introduced to this character, Grease, and he's really funny. He's like really sarcastic and doesn't really care for Cal and other people and droids and things like that, but he was voiced by Dan Roebuck. Guy has been in a bunch of Rob Zombie movies, but they're on the ship and they start out in this adventure, and you basically go to all these different planets. You have different objectives you have to complete in the story, and you're introduced to a lot of familiar faces and places along the way.
Just want to blow off some stress every once in a while, you know? Anyway, all of that is in the past. I'm sure it won't be a problem.
Basically go to 3 planets. Planet Zepho, which is probably one of my favorite planets, and I had a really good time exploring that with Cal. And this being a single player mission, action adventure, it's really interesting to see how much land, how much places you can go to and discover in this video game. But Zepho is definitely one of my favorite. It has the ice caves, and you come across like the jungle and a lot of cool things in there, lots of stormtroopers. And they also introduce Inquisitors in this game, which are like the bad guys, the big bad bosses that you have to fight in the game and defeat, and they're really great. And they set those characters up with the second sister and the ninth sister.
Found you again.
You're done hurting this world.
I don't know what's got second sister thinking you're so important. She likes her souvenirs, but I'm not in it for the memories, and honestly...
Those are really great villains and really hard to beat. It took me a while to beat those characters. And with that being said, we get to venture off into other planets. You basically finish the objective on the planet. You have to do certain things or certain puzzles. You have to, kill certain species and villains and things that come along the way. But you have a bunch of puzzles you have to figure out, and it sets up a lot of great scenes and like temples. There's a Jedi temple in this video game, which is really cool, going in there and going underground, and you're going on these ice slides throughout the caves, and just a lot of really great scenery. And it really felt like in the realm of Star Wars. But with each objective and mission you complete, obviously you get trophies and you get skill points, the way you kill people, and you acquire the lightsaber. And a big part of this game is like the lightsaber breaks and you have to rebuild it, and you have to go find this thing and to get the lightsaber back. And eventually you get the double-sided lightsaber like later in the game, which is really awesome because that gives you a lot more power. And obviously Darth Maul had that, and you can change the colors and customize your lightsaber when you acquire points and do certain things throughout the game. So I definitely changed and customized my lightsaber a lot, like from like blue to orange to green. Another really fantastic planet in this video game is the Wookiee planet, where Chewbacca's from, so you get to see like a ton of them. And one of the missions, you have to save the Wookiees. They're all like caged up, and you let them out, and they, you free them. But it takes a little while to get there. Of course, you're always coming across bad guys and trying to do your best to use all your powers and take on like 20 stormtroopers at a time and other bad guys that come along the way. Acquire these Jedi skills. There's certain flashbacks in the game back to when young Cal Kestis was training with his master, him learning how to use the Force and him learning how to run on walls and a bunch of, doing backflips and things like that. And you go back and learn how to get these skills, and then you'll fast forward to where you're at in the game and use those skills to get to the next part in the story. So I thought that was really cool. It was little flashbacks. And I loved him training as a young kid. And it really had that feel and tone of Star Wars 1, 2, and 3. I don't want to go through every planet, but there's a lot of great planets. There's like the desert planet, Dathomir. The Wookiee planet I was talking about, Zepho, was my favorite. There's like an ice planet. And at the very end was the best part of the game. I will say it's a tough game. There's a few parts I got stuck on, and it took me about 10 or 12 tries to eventually get past that point and figuring things out. Earlier on in the game, I was trying to get this part called the Scomp Link, and what that does basically unlocks doors. I almost forgot along the way, you do pick up a droid named BD-1. He's one of the best characters, one of probably the best droids in the Star Wars universe, up there next to R2-D2 is my favorite, but he was really helpful in this game. He helps Cal along the way in this journey, getting through each mission, each objective, and he's a really important part of this game because with his skills and helping Cal along the way, they really, conquer this universe. But BD-1 basically jumps up on Cal's shoulder, and he helps him like unlock doors, and he scans to put certain creatures or artifacts into the data bank that you can use for each planet. I really love BD-1. They had a really great relationship throughout the game.
What'd you find?
That being said, I was like pretty far in the game. Like I was on planet Zepho, I was in the ice caves, and I couldn't find this Scomp Link, which is like this tool that you need to unlock doors throughout the game. You really need it to get further in the story as well. So I had to backtrack like 1 or 2 hours to find this thing. So that did set me back on some time, but I'm glad I finally used that. And you use that with BD-1's character, and it slices the doors and like ropes and things like that. So it's a very useful tool that you will need to finish the game. So FYI, if you guys haven't found that yet in the video game, look for the Scomp Link. It's kind of hard to find, but just keep looking, you'll find it. At the ending of the game, it just goes balls to the wall. It's super dark. It's super scary, honestly. I was like playing this in my gamer chair upstairs, and I was just really intense and really into it. I felt super anxious. I was sweaty because I was so invested into the game, especially in the final part of the game where you're coming across some really bad guys, and they're really hard to defeat. And one character, one villain, one of the most famous villains of all time, I'm not going to say his name, may show up in the final act of the video game and come out of nowhere. And I'll tell you one thing, I was like, holy shit! So it just caught me off guard, and I couldn't believe this character was in the game, and it really sets up a beautiful ending. You know, Cal and Sarah Junda, you know, taking on these really bad forces here, and this really bad, you know, villain. The super boss himself shows up. So I'm not going to say too much about that or how the game ends, but it's a really badass battle and something I didn't expect in this game. Went super dark. It felt like the darkest they've gone in a video game to date, so I'm really glad they did that, and it made me want more. They make it back to the ship with this really pivotal part they've been looking for in the game to restore the Jedi Order, and what happens with that and what it could all mean in the next video game that they put out. It really makes me have some questions about the game and what they're going to do next, but it makes me want more. Like when the credits rolled on the end of the game, I couldn't believe it. I thought there was more to the game, but I'm like, no, I didn't want it to end. I want more. So at this point, I was so invested. I had such a great time with this video game. I spent the last month in quarantine lockdown playing this video game every night, just falling in love with the story and these characters and where they go in the galaxy and the bad people they come across. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar planets we've seen before, and just overall great storytelling and one of the best, if not the best, Star Wars game to date. So overall, I had a really great time with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Been playing it the past month, having an absolute blast with this. Didn't know too much about it, but I love how it takes place 5 years after Episode 3, picking up, you know, these characters, introducing Cal Kestis, his mentor, a whole bunch of new characters on the ship called the Mantis, and the story and adventure that they go on across all these different planets. Just really well done. The visual effects, the graphics look top-notch, straight out of a movie. And even my wife was impressed how good the video game looks. It looks like you're actually in a movie, a Star Wars movie. It's so well done. And the only few complaints I had is when you're entering certain planets, if you like go through a door or a planet, it gets a little choppy, it, like stops for a second, then it picks back up. And this is at 60 frames per second, so that's really the only negative remark I can say about the video game. It was a little choppy at parts, and sometimes if I like fell off a cliff, like I was still hanging in the air. So I'm like, okay, I'll stay alive. I guess I'm not dead. Besides that, everything else in this game was pretty perfect. It got me invested, a person that's not really a gamer. It really got me into the video game and wanting to play more games like this. And because it's just a really good, fun time, you can just sit back, relax, and fall into the world and the galaxy of Star Wars. And definitely one of the best games of the year for sure. So overall, I'm going to give Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order a 5 out of 5 Cal Kestis hair pieces. So what did you guys think of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What did you guys think of that ending without spoiling too much? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myers, the Jedi himself, signing out from the planet of the Wookiees. Until the next video game review. Cheers!